It's Pros vs. Joe's prime time games. I'm the Prez, Lawrence Presman. Joe's giving me the... What is that?
That's a piece, my man, piece.
No, that's peace. This is, I was with two women last night.
Well, now we got to bring in some... Yeah, it's the shocker then at that point.
Okay, well, let's start the intro again. I'm Lawrence Presman, the Prez. You're watching Pros vs. Joe's Primetime Edition. Joe Ranieri and Rob Vino from Sports Memo joining us. I'm excited to have one of them.
Just one?
Yeah, the other one annoys the shit out of me.
That's good then. Nice.
Okay, I'm not saying which is which. Rob, I see your hair is still in perfect condition.
Perfect. It's the way we like it.
Let's summarize last week and get into the show. Well, we went 3-2. Rob, how about the rest of them?
Hey, we had some 5-0s, Prez, and about 9 of them. It worked out very well for those folks. We had a bunch of ties. I think there were 40-plus ties, and a lot of 4 wins as well. The contestants did very, very well first week out, Prez. 60% for us, but there were plenty, and I mean plenty of others that entered the contest that did 60% or better. So want to salute the guys who went 5-0, perfect 5-0. Certainly see if you can match that this week.
Mr. Andre Jones Jr., AJJ. He won the whole thing, 5-0, 28 total points for the Monday night tiebreaker. Huge shout out to you. Congratulations. Guys, just bear with us for a couple of days maximum as we sort through and set everybody up with the wager bucks we promised. As you can see in the top right of the screen, it shows you this week's games that we're going to do a consensus pick on, as well as now that the inaugural first Pros vs. Joe's is in the bag. From here on in, the bottom line is beat us and you get $25 in wager bucks. Simple as that. No wager bucks for entering, no wager bucks for tying, no wager bucks for 5-0. Just beat us and you get $25 in wager bucks. Joe, what are you doing, man? Your eyes are down. What are you up to? Look at those baby blues.
I got a lot of things working here, Prez, right now. I got a lot of screens open up. I got a lot happening in front of me.
Yeah, why is that?
I'm actually in the studio with us would be a female, a matter of fact, that's staring right across from me over here, so I can feel her eyes on me.
Well, on behalf of Rob, myself, and all of the guests, could you please swap seats?
Nope, not going to do it. Not going to do it. Not going to do it. I'll never live it down.
You wearing pants?
I am wearing my Sports Memo thong right now. All
Stand up, Joe. Stand up, Joe.
All right, that's it. It's Sports Memo in the front, wager talk in the back, baby.
Oh yeah,
that's what we're talking
Party
about.
in the front, partier harder in the back.
That's exactly it. Poor Rob. I'm so sorry.
Well, you know, everybody has banned me from small talk on all my other shows, so it's like
I love it.
This is where I take it out.
Yep, we are good.
Hey, Rob, what happened to the third picture Joe asked for?
Yes.
Oh, I know. I'll have to work on that. I didn't know what to put up there. A Wheaties cover of the Denver Broncos from 1997, or maybe some Las Vegas landscape. Maybe myself with my son behind the ESPN desk when we took the tour. I don't know. What do you want up there, guys?
I don't know, but Joe, do you notice how perfectly centered Rob Vino's face is up against?
Exactly it. I was going to say, I don't know if that's feng shui correct, Rob. I think sometimes you need like a third. You need like a third picture right in the middle over there to be able to get it all feng shui. And after all, listen, the more feng shui, the better the picks are. We all know this.
Yes. Actually, there's a handicapper who we all know. I don't know if you know him, Rob. I'm not going to mention names, but he picks games based on the biometric rhythms of a person. So he works out when they were born and what sign that means on the particular day they are playing. Has to be doing better than me in football this season.
You're jealous, Rob. Be honest. You're jealous right now, aren't you?
Yeah, I haven't graduated to that metric yet.
Yeah, that's pretty hardcore. Okay, boys, let's go. UCF -4.5 for Cincinnati. Rob Vino, why don't you start?
Sure. I mean, this is a huge game, guys. AAC, East Division, supremacy at stake here. I mean, I guess we could count Temple as a potential contender in that East Division, but really this is for all the marbles here. And last year, both of these teams sat inside the top 25 when they played, and it wound up being a UCF blowout. So you have to wonder if the gap has closed any this year. I think there's a couple of cases you could make on each side here, Prez, and then you really have to decide. We saw UCF not handle the road very well at Pittsburgh. Lose 35-34, got themselves behind early, couldn't come back. Actually did come back and had Pitt steal it from them late. Cincinnati had one big game, all geared up for Ohio State. They get destroyed 42-0. So you wonder which team is going to handle this circumstance the best. For UCF, it might be the best defensive team they've faced, although I would say that Pittsburgh, which ranks nationally just a few steps behind Cincinnati, has probably played a better schedule. UCF hung 34 points on Pitt. Both quarterbacks, very, very capable here, guys. Cincinnati at home in a Friday night game will have all national eyes on them. Remember, that was the same case for Maryland last week, and the better team destroyed Maryland there. I think this has a lot of similarities. I think Joe pointed out last week the total destruction that had been Penn State, Maryland 3 years prior. It's about the same for these two teams. Central Florida has really whacked Cincinnati around. Power ratings made this game 4.5. We're using 4.5. So the line really doesn't show any value either way. I think that UCF might have learned their lesson on the road against Pitt. Maybe that was their close game, and they come away with the win here. But I'm going to very, very cautiously say UCF, guys, and hope that you can tilt me in the right direction.
Joe, as we spoke about on the last show, we are putting hooks to the numbers that are flat. It's really UCF -4. We're using 4.5 for the competition. Rob Vino is cautiously taking UCF. What is the handsome Joe Ranieri with the female waiting for him?
Well, I was actually one of my 5% plays. I took Pitt over UCF because it was just a bad spot for UCF. They had done so good and so much smoke had been blown towards them while in Orlando, in Florida. But it was their first true road game of the year against an ACC opponent. It just felt like we were going to see a different UCF team on the road than what we've seen here. Now they lost. Now they've bounced back. And the one statistic here, the one thing that stuck out to me the most was the UCF defense is very underrated, but they're also extremely good. The problem for the Cincinnati Bearcats isn't defensively, it's their offensive line. They've given up 12 sacks through the first 4 games. And, UCF, they've racked up 11 sacks of their own against teams. And I just have this feeling it's going to be very difficult for Cincinnati to be able to match the point production from UCF in this game. And I do think UCF is the play because their defense matches up a heck of a lot better against that Cincinnati offense than Cincinnati's defense matches up against UCF's offense. They're going to score, guys. I don't think Cincinnati can keep pace.
So my opinion doesn't count. So let's just summarize this, shall we, Joe? Mm-hmm. Like Joe waiting for the show to end, having a female looking directly into his blue eyes, UCF will be jumping into the sack.
Oh, love that. It was well done, man. Took you a little while to get there, but once you got there, you really nailed it. That was good.
I didn't even have time to come up with any, dude. That was like on the spot.
Very good, man. That's fantastic right there. Very good. All right. So just to recap, are we going with UCF there?
Yeah.
Is that where we're going, Rob?
I think we are.
All right, good. UCF.
Auburn -3. We're using 3.5 on this game versus Florida, 7 seed versus 8 seed. Man, Auburn looks good. Like you, Joe.
Thank you.
And Rob's hair.
Yes.
Just his hair, though.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Rob Vino, Auburn -3.5 versus Florida. Where are we going?
I think we have to go with Auburn, Prez. At least I do. Right now, that's a freight train I don't want to get in front of. Last week, Gus Malzahn had mentioned how he felt quarterback Bo Nix, the true freshman, had been getting better and better each week. And boy, we saw it last week. 335 yards passing, a couple of TD passes over 30 yards in that game. Got out front quickly by a ton. Coasted home against Mississippi State in a spot where, they were coming off that A&M win on the road, and a lot of people had thought maybe this was a good setup for Mississippi State. Tommy Stevens started at quarterback for MSU. He gets hurt. Garrett Schrader came in. Really didn't matter by that time because Auburn was way out in front. I think the strength of schedule here, guys, the separation between the two is pretty huge. Auburn, for their part, being 5-0 against the spread, against the likes of Oregon, Texas A&M, Mississippi State, and Tulane, it's pretty strong. For Florida, they played 2 FCS squads already, Tennessee, Martin, and Towson State. 2 wins over Kentucky and Miami of Florida, which were close, not that impressive as far as dominance is concerned. Kyle Trask, quarterback for Florida, first real test against a defensive line that, again, a lot of people consider to be the best in the country. If Florida's going to have to run the ball to get something done here, Auburn's going to prevent that, force Trask to beat him with his arm. I don't think that happens. Florida's defensive numbers are really good, but how about facing redshirt Jaron Williams at quarterback for Miami in his first start, redshirt freshman John Backus III from UT Martin in his second start, Sawyer Smith for Kentucky in his first start in that offense after running the air raid at Troy State. I just think a lot of fundamentals add up for Auburn here. I don't know that they're affected by any spot right now after seeing the beating they put on Mississippi in what could have been considered a letdown last week. 3.5, I'll lay it with Auburn. Florida, to me, this is their first real test. Auburn's been battle-tested already.
Joe Ranieri.
It's interesting. Preseason, Auburn was rated as the 6th best team in the SEC. Meanwhile, Florida was looked upon as a top 10 team in the country, and the simple fact that they're 5-0 has maintained that impression to people. They've maintained in that top 10 at number 10, I believe. And I think they are completely overrated. I think the only reason that they are still 10 is because they see the word Florida and they see 5-0, and that's exactly what everyone thinks. Like, here we go again. But there is one team that without a doubt is heads and tails over the other team in this matchup. And Auburn, guys, is not in the same class as Florida, or vice versa, however you want to put it. Florida is a work in progress right now. Great defensively. We know that. They're playing in the swamp. That's going to count for something. But the truth is, Auburn's front 7 defensively is by far the best in the country. Their offensive line, their offensive weapons, Bo Nix, you mentioned the freshman. What we've seen is the progression of him getting very comfortable with those receivers, some of the best receivers in the country, by the way, on the outside. Guys that the deep ball is really starting to come together. Last week against Mississippi State, waxed them 56-23. You could really start to see Bo Nix coming into his own and really coming together with those wide receivers. Florida, love them, but without Felipe Franks, with Trask in there now, they are basically a mediocre offensive team. Work in progress, but mediocre. They are going to run into a buzzsaw with Auburn. I don't even think this is going to be close, guys. I think Auburn blows them out in the swamp, and we'll be laughing about this come next Tuesday on the show because this isn't even a fair fight. One team is top 10. The other team is way overrated right now, and I'll be going with the top 10 team, Auburn. Take them, lay the points, cash the ticket, come back and thank us next week.
Wow, Joe. Well, I'm with you guys completely on Auburn. So to summarize, Joe, help.
Go ahead. I'm waiting.
Help me, Joe, help.
No.
Please.
This is on you. No.
Okay.
No.
Like the girl in Joe's house waiting for the show to end, Auburn will blow Florida away.
So glad she doesn't have headphones on right now.
Can we see her? We want to see her.
All right, she's going to peek her head around here quick. Come on over here. All right. Come on.
This bated
I
breath.
can't hear you guys, so there you go, right? Yep, there she is. There it is.
Is she your daughter?
Yeah. He wants to know if you're my daughter. Yeah, no, it's definitely not my daughter.
Can she massage your shoulders for the rest of the show?
That's exactly, you interrupt. This actually was supposed to take place a little earlier, and I'm rearranging right now for you here, Prez.
Okay. Next time I actually need to think about these summaries ahead of time. I had a crazy day. I had a crazy week. It's Rosh Hashanah, just ended. I've been busy with my family. My kid's in from FIT New York. I got to drive her to the airport in 5 minutes. I proofread 3 of her essays already today. By the way, Joe, me and her have got straight A's so far at university this year.
Really?
Yeah.
Impressed.
So you wanted to know what this Jewish holiday is all about?
Yeah, I was a little confused because I wasn't. I thought I know what is it? Rosh Hashanah, right? But the Yom Kippur is the big holiday, isn't that the holiest of all holy holidays?
Yeah, that's the holiest day for me as a Jew. I ignore it as much as I ignore every other Jewish holiday. But my dad and mom are still alive, so I will be there for dinners. Yom Kippur is next Tuesday. It's the day of the fast. Most Jews fast for 24 straight hours. I'm an extra Jew, so I fast 4 times that day. After dinner, after breakfast, after lunch, and then after my mid-afternoon snack. Rosh Hashanah is our new year, and it is 5,780. So you can wish me and all other brethren a happy 5,780th year.
Okay. That's a lot of years, but yes. Happy New Year.
Well, listen, I mean, it takes a long time for us to collect all the money in the world.
Rob, I wasn't going there, man. I'm just saying, wasn't going there. There was going to be a quarterback joke in there somewhere, too. I know there was.
So we got Auburn, we got UCF. Guys, just a real quick heads up. Up in the comment section of this show, you'll find the link to enter the contest. If you beat us, you get $25 in wager bucks. Plus, hey, it's fun. Michigan State plus 20.5 versus Ohio State. Take a look at how these two teams have fared. I know we're only doing sides, but this game is a stone cold under, like Joe in bed in about 20 minutes.
We didn't even make it to the end. That was good. That was good.
I'm making jokes, and we've got an Amber Alert going on in Toronto. It's pathetic. I'm pathetic, Joe. Some kid's just been abducted, and I'm talking about your damn sex life.
It's awful. It's absolutely awful. I'm disgusted in you.
Is Rob even on this show?
We've just destroyed Rob on so many levels. Rob's just like, what am I doing?
Hey,
here?
Joe. Rob Vino is 25-12 in college football since September 12th. That's 68%. Do you know what? Do you know that 68 is my favorite number?
Oh,
Why?
boy. Oh, boy.
I'm not even going to. Go ahead. Is it really? Why is 68 your favorite?
Well, it's when I get a 69, but I owe you one.
That's yes, exactly. Yep, back to the holiday again. Here we go.
Okay, Michigan State plus 20.5 versus Ohio State. Rob Vino, parental discretion advised during our show. What do you like?
Yes. All right. It gets distracting around here. I like Michigan State plus 20.5.
Ooh, wait. Were you just blowing a kiss?
No, I was not.
Okay.
Not at all.
She looks a bit young for you.
Not at all. What are you talking about? Not at all.
Okay.
She's got ID.
Michigan State. Rob, I will shut up.
I will continue. Okay.
Thank you, Rob.
Michigan State, I think, plus 20.5, guys, just too big of a number for me. I know last week they had trouble with Indiana. Michael Penix played for Indiana, dual threat quarterback, threw quite well against the Michigan State defense. Didn't run much, though, guys. And I think that shows you that Michigan State's game plan there was to take the run away, make sure that the dual threat quarterback didn't get loose with his legs, and see if he could beat him with his arm. He almost did. That, you could say that gives them a little bit of experience heading into this week against Justin Fields, which I believe the defense will be under the same exact philosophy. Let's stop the run. J.K. Dobbins, let's make sure that Justin Fields doesn't beat us with our legs, and see if he can do it with his arm and those receivers. We talk a lot about Auburn's defensive front. Michigan State's defensive front right there, top 5 in the nation as well. So Ohio State's going to face a defensive test like none they've seen all season long. It's been great to run through teams, over teams, around teams, and into the end zone. And I'm not saying that they won't score here, because I don't know how they are going to be completely stopped by anybody this season. They look the part right now as a contender for the national championship game. But I do think that Mark D'Antonio's a defensive genius, been that way for a while. I think that Michigan State may have had an eye on this game, although they shouldn't. Their offense is always something when you back them that you worry about, but I think you worry about that so much more in a favorite role than you would in an underdog role as big as this. Home field advantage here. Certainly divisional game here in the Big Ten East, so a lot of reason to have fully focused efforts here from Michigan State. I think Ohio State goes on the road and faces their first real test, and if Michigan State can keep them at least away from the big plays, the quick strike plays, 20.5 shouldn't be that hard to cover, guys. Brian Lewerke has shown the ability 2 of the last 3 weeks to move the football through the air. We were concerned about them offensively, but 2 of the last 3 weeks they've been okay. I'll take my chances with Michigan State at home and the 20.5.
Ooh.
Joe Ranieri?
Yeah, I'm on the other side on this one here, Rob. Michigan State was a 2-touchdown home favorite, I believe, against, was it Indiana last weekend? They needed a field goal in order to be able to cover it. If it's one thing that Arizona State taught us, if it's one thing that we've learned recently about Michigan State, is that offensively, you can't trust them. Yes, defensively, they are stout, and this will, in many aspects, be Ohio State's toughest test. But Ohio State, guys, is just in a different stratosphere this year. The Fields kid is ridiculous. They have been utterly dominant on the offensive side of the ball, averaging 52.5 points a game, 535 yards per game. And, oh, yeah, holding their opponents, because their defense isn't that bad either, to just about 8.6 points and 224 yards per game on defense. I am telling you, this is going to be another one of these situations where not only will they be covering at halftime, I don't see Ohio State from Michigan State taking their foot off the pedal at all like they did when they smoked Nebraska in Lincoln, Nebraska. I don't see that happening. I see Ohio State trying to make a statement out of this, going full board. They just can't compete offensively. This is going to be Ohio State. It could be by 30 points or more before it's all said and done.
Yeah, well, I guess I got to break the tie. My handicap, look, I agree with everything you said, Rob, and Michigan State is going to really try to slow this game down to a crawl. The problem is, and where I'm looking is with Auburn and Oklahoma State. Auburn and Oklahoma and Ohio all kind of on the periphery of that top 4 spot. These teams looking in have got to annihilate teams. And I think this is a whole different league for Michigan State. I think this is the best Ohio State team we've seen in years. And I have to go with Joe here and pick Ohio State. So to summarize, like an extremely large drape covered over Melissa McCarthy, Ohio State will cover.
That was now that's impressive, my friend.
That was pretty good.
That was really good. Yeah, I'm not sure where Melissa McCarthy came in.
Well, I was trying to think of a large female.
Melissa McCarthy works,
Hey.
man. This is great.
Totally off topic. Do you guys watch Bill Burr?
Yes, I have seen Bill Burr.
Very funny.
I think he's the funniest guy in the world, and I was watching a piece last night where he started getting all angry at overweight people, although he doesn't call them that. And he was talking about why they're the ones always complaining. And he's like, have you ever tried to get a six-pack? You need 3 personal trainers. You can only eat a peanut once a day. You're on a treadmill. You have to lift weights. People are screaming and yelling at you. And the person lying on the couch stuffing their face with chips is the one complaining?
Nothing like a little. You gotta eat, man. Life is too short to be thin. That's a good rule of thumb. You gotta eat the Raisinets when you can.
Indy plus 10.5 versus Kansas City. Rob Vino.
Well, we saw their injuries come into play last week, guys. Oakland gets them outright in Indianapolis. They just couldn't survive the injuries to Darius Leonard, to Malik Hooker, and so on and so forth. T.Y. Hilton. Just a litany of injuries. I think the best thing to do with Indianapolis in this game is check the injury report as we go through the week. Now, all that being said, I'm not sure they can cover here in Kansas City. We saw in the playoff game last year that KC is head and
that's so
shoulders.
cute, Joe. Do it. Wait, sorry, Rob. Do it again, Joe. Do it again.
No, I will not.
Oh, the right eye wink, the little...
Yes, it is. That's right.
Tell her to come sit on your lap for the rest of the show.
No, we are. Listen, don't interrupt Rob. He was on a roll there, and you completely blew it.
It was your fault, dude.
No, why pay attention to me? Don't pay attention to me. Pay attention to Rob. He's actually giving winners out here. Ridiculous. Sorry, Rob.
Rob, I apologize too.
That's all right, guys. I can analyze games through anything. I'm watching Joe and analyzing the Colts at the same time, and you would never even know.
Walking and chewing gum.
Yeah,
I love it. Yes.
You got to multitask.
Okay, check the injury reports for Indy. Continue.
Now, all that being said, guys, I don't even think it makes a difference here. If they get some players back, we don't know that they'll be 100% health. And we saw in last year's playoff game that Kansas City is just head and shoulders above Indianapolis right now. I think offensively, Patrick Mahomes had his difficulties against Matt Patricia's defense last week. Matt Patricia, of course, a Bill Belichick disciple, went to some defenses that Belichick has used in the past to slow down big play attacks. That's what happened. But KC still found a way to grind out a 4-point victory. I don't know that Indianapolis is capable of that same type of defensive play, especially with Malik Hooker being hurt and Darius Leonard. That's right up the center of their defense. Going to have to match Kansas City point for point when you go to Arrowhead and play them. At some point during the game, KC, last week this happened too. They find a way defensively, as bad as they are, to force a turnover, get a takeaway that ends up being points and winds up being the difference in the game. I think in this contest, it helps them extend. Indianapolis has been great so far. Last week, notwithstanding, but I think Kansas City, it looks like a large number, guys, but the way they put up points and the way I think they'll put up points in this game, I don't know that it's large enough.
Joe, can you...
I do. Yeah, here's the problem with Indianapolis. Completely laid an egg at home, and maybe T.Y. Hilton and maybe Darius Leonard, maybe their absence played a little bit bigger role than people at first thought. So yes, you have to keep an eye on the injury report in this game. But having said that, I think Frank Reich is one of the better coaches in the league. I think Indianapolis will absolutely, this week at practice, they will clean up what was just a horrific first half there against the Oakland Raiders at home. I think they will bounce back. I think this is going to be a much better and more competitive game than people are going to give it credit. I think we're getting into that point where people are hearing Kansas City and it's like, they're going to win. They're going to blow them out. Well, here's a newsflash. Kansas City's secondary is an issue. it's going to be a big issue all year long unless they pull off some sort of crazy trade for Patrick Ramsey. I don't know how they're going to be able. Jalen Ramsey, not Patrick. That would be a quarterback. Jalen Ramsey, unless they pull that off with Jacksonville, that secondary is going to be a liability for them all year long. They were horrific against Detroit, and I don't see how that's going to get any better. If T.Y. Hilton plays, he's going to be able to exploit that secondary. So I do think we're going to see a better effort out of Indianapolis this week. So I would almost venture to say we might be talking about backdoor cover here.
Backdoor cover. Wow, that really leads into a nice summary.
Just teeing it up for you here, my friend.
Break the tie, Prez.
Okay, so I am definitely not betting this game. I think both of you made a hell of a lot of sense. I don't think T.Y. Hilton's going to factor in that much, Joe, because I think Indianapolis's only chance of winning is to run, and then run. I think they're going to be close to 70-30 on the run. The only way to beat Kansas City if you're a worse team than them, which is pretty much every team in the league, is to slow this game down to a crawl. This game reminds me a lot of the Michigan State-Ohio State game we just spoke about. I am going to take Kansas City here. I just don't think Indianapolis has the guns to keep up with them. And just so you know, very important public service announcement, The Rock is actually coming back to the WWE in the next couple of weeks. So,
really? In
honor of The Rock, I think Kansas City will lay the smackdown.
Yeah,
It can't all be sexual references.
Just wasn't sure what the laying the rock. You laying rock? Is that what we're doing? Laying rock?
Okay.
Masonry joke.
I think the highlight of the show is literally Joe winking and smooching his girl in the middle of your conversation, Rob.
I can't. Masonry. A little masonry reference there. That was impressive, man.
As an Italian, I'm offended by masonry jokes.
Yeah.
Okay. UCF, Auburn, Ohio State, Kansas City. Is that correct?
So far, that's it. Yep. Yeah. So far, you've been the tiebreaker on all of these. I just want you to know.
Yeah, I've been the tiebreaker on two, and this could not be more square. We are now officially the Joes.
I love this.
Cleveland plus 3.5 for San Francisco. Rob.
I like Cleveland, guys. I give credit to San Francisco for everything they've done this season, especially on the defensive side of the football. And we understand they're off a bye week here. So 2 weeks to prepare for this team. Monday night contest. San Francisco hasn't had a lot of these big spotlight type games in recent history. So this is a big one for them. However, on the offensive side of the football, Cleveland really came alive last week. Baker Mayfield and company against the Baltimore defense in Baltimore, where teams just usually don't go. I won't even say usually. They don't go in there and destroy the Ravens defense the way Cleveland did last week, running the football with Nick Chubb, throwing the football. We see Landry and Beckham both working together now. Mayfield looks a heck of a lot more comfortable. The offensive line looked a lot better, and that's probably the biggest key of all in this game, because San Francisco's made their money on defense, and specifically with pressure on the quarterback and disruption in the backfield. Cleveland's going to have to be ready for that. On the other side of the football, I'm really not sold on this San Francisco offense, guys. They had 5 turnovers against the Steelers in their most recent game, and I believe, I'm recalling off the top of my head here, 3 of them were inside the 10-yard line. Jimmy Garoppolo still doesn't look settled in. The wide receivers do have speed, but I like Cleveland's secondary. The fact that they've been able to cover for the injuries in the secondary the last 2 weeks against the Rams and the Ravens is pretty amazing. But they should come back closer to health here. I'm going to take Freddie Kitchens and Cleveland. You know what? Probably a lot of the country is back on the Cleveland bandwagon. And, sometimes it's not a good thing to jump on the country's bandwagon. But I think Cleveland's the better team. Over a field goal, I'll take it with the Browns.
Mr. Ranieri, then you can leave and go smooch with your girl without us having to watch.
It's too late. She already left. So here's the deal. Now you're stuck with me. Here's the deal. You're going to have to break up the tie once again here because I'm all over the 49ers in this one, and I'll tell you why. The thing that I pulled away with that Cleveland-Baltimore game was one thing and one thing only. While, yes, we know Nick Chubb is actually a Cleveland Brown now. Actually, Freddie Kitchens just figured it out, but yes, they ran the offense through Nick Chubb. They figured it out finally. That was great. But the big takeaway from that game, guys, is that, yeah, Baltimore's defense is crap. It's especially the secondary. It is not nearly as good as people are making it out to seem. I do think Baltimore, the loss of C.J. Mosley, especially in the center there's something going on with that defense of Baltimore. I think they were exposed more than we were given this big Cleveland Brown turnaround. Their offensive line is still crap. The Cleveland Indians offensive line is going to be a liability every year. And the better the front seven, the bigger liability it's going to be for them. And they happen to be going against a team, one of the most underrated front sevens in the division. Not to mention, I get the better coach at home with the better guys in the trenches on both sides of the ball. Yeah, give me the San Francisco 49ers, who also run the ball better than Cleveland does. Guys, they're averaging about 160 yards on the ground a game. Shanahan is a much better coach than Freddie Kitchens. Coming off a bye week, Shanahan will be ready for Cleveland, but I do think last week's win by Cleveland was way more about the Baltimore Ravens defense being exposed and having issues than all of a sudden that offensive line of the Cleveland Browns somehow is going to lead them to a AFC North championship. I don't see it. I think they get exposed again this week.
Well, we can't take 5 favorites. So we're going to go with Cleveland. The hell I'm betting this game, though. But I do like Cleveland here, Joe. Look, I think this game is going to be a field goal game. I'm going to take the hook. I don't think the front seven of San Francisco is nearly as good as you do. And I think and I said this last week, where Cleveland is susceptible is on the edge rush. And where the Rams had Fowler coming in on the left side on the edge. I said Baltimore doesn't have edge rushers, and as a result, Baker will have more time, and he did. I don't think San Francisco has world-class edge rushers, so I think Baker will have more time as well. I'm going to take Cleveland and the hook. And instead of doing a summary, Joe, because I'm flat bloody well out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say to all our listeners and commenters,
yes,
please post some summaries for me. Basically, the puns available are blah, 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 it can cover. Blah, 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 it won't cover. Blah, 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 I'm laying. Blah, 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 I'm taking. Blah, 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 blowout, etc., etc. If I use any of them, email me $10 a wager box. Also, if you have stuff where you can insult Joe Ranieri, physical...
What? Okay. What? 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 Don't. What? Why am I always getting made fun of?
I can't make fun of Rob. Firstly, Rob's not smooching the air while you're providing analysis. Rob's not winking while you're providing analysis. But we do thank you for bringing the female onto the show, Joe.
Didn't bring it. You happened to be 2 hours late, so she happened to be here. Not my fault. Ridiculous, Rob.
Okay, UCF, Auburn, Ohio State, Kansas City, and Cleveland. Everybody, we love you participating. Beat us and it's $25 in wager bucks.
Boom.
Give me some summaries for next week. Joe Ranieri does not read the comment section, so he won't know which summaries I'm going to use. I love you all. Rob Vino, again, my apologies. Rob, I feel like I'm Jimmy Kimmel and you're Matt Damon.
It's okay, but somebody's got to stabilize this show, guys. It's all right.
How in the... I like Melissa.
You don't understand
I like Melissa
what
McCarthy.
You know, Matt. You know Jimmy Kimmel. He like never lets Matt Damon talk.
Melissa McCarthy, Jimmy Kimmel, now Matt Damon. My man, you got to get away from the TV. Put the remote down,
Hey,
brother.
I'm
Put
watching
it
The
down.
Spy on Netflix. Unbelievable. Have you seen
Any
it?
good? Any good?
It's unbelievable.
Really?
It's actually one of the
Check it out.
greatest stories you'll ever hear in your life. It's about an Israeli Mossad agent in the early 60s who infiltrates the extremely, at an extremely high level, the government of Syria. Sacha Baron Cohen is the lead actor. It's a very
Heard
serious
of it.
role.
Yes. Yes.
I'm giving it a 10 out of 10, dude. I mean, it is.
Really?
It's as good as.
Kind of hard to look at him and not be like, yeah, high five. I can't do it.
Yeah. It's amazing. Rob Vino, I highly suggest you watch it.
I will.
Okay, boys, thank you so much for joining
Don't forget
us.
biorhythms, Rob. Don't forget biorhythms, too.
I'm going to have to incorporate
Yes,
those,
yes.
Joe.
Make sure.
Absolutely.
Anything else?
Love you guys.
Pleasure, Rob.
See you next Tuesday.
Screw you, Prez.
Take care, fellas.